ready, I'm ready to get in the game. Well, then it's time to pause and play.
Well, it's time to get in the game. Finally, it's been a while, but I'm still Father Luke Rowicki.
And I'm still Brother Andrew Torrey.
And we are back in the game with summer vacation.
Woo!
So this is going to be a fun episode, like every episode we record. But
every single episode is fun.
This is a singular episode as opposed to the series that we just put out there, the all-in series on discernment. 10 episodes on discernment. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. This episode is going to be sort of a little teaser between series because we want to start a new series in the fall. But since summer, people are kind of relaxing. People are trying to get some sun. We're going to talk about what type of SPF will make your summer unforgettable and truly fulfilling. Brother Andrew, what does SPF stand for again?
Well, obviously, it stands for Soul-Packed-Freshness.
Yes.
Whenever you see that at Walmart, you always see SPF. It's like SPF 50. Like, what the heck does that mean? It means Soul-Packed-Freshness. That's what it
What's
means.
the highest SPF on the market right now?
I think it's a cajillion because like the Soul-Packed-Freshness that we're going to talk about, like you're gonna figure this out. Why?
There's no limit. There's no limit. Like we're not just like maxing out at 50 or 100. I think 100 is maybe the max, but that's like someone that you become like a big mirror, like a shimmering mirror, like everyone else around you is blinded by your whiteness. So
yeah, exactly.
So that's not the SPF we're talking about, but we are talking about the Soul-Packed-Freshness. That's gonna make you at the end of the summer be like, that was great. That time at the beach, that time in the mountains, that time in the forest. And this type of SPF is actually the same SPF that if you would have asked almost 3,000 years ago, Aristotle, hey, what do you recommend? I'm about to go to the beach. What SPF would you recommend? Aristotle would actually respond with the SPF that here at Pause and Play, we're going to recommend to each one of you.
Exactly.
Right, Andrew?
And so before we go into Aristotle's SPF awesomeness, Brother Luke, it's been like, how long has it been? Like a month and a half, maybe, since we recorded something?
Yeah,
it's
I
been
think
crazy. Why don't
Busy.
what have you been up to? Why have you personally delayed our recording for so long?
It's actually because I was so busy looking at your Instagram at all your events that I had no time for anything else. Like if you went with the Pope, your brother was getting married. If brother wasn't getting married, you were leading an orchestra of brothers at the ordinations and the amazing Basilica of St. John Lateran. If you weren't doing that, you were, gallivanting up in northern Italy where you are now. So, but besides spending time looking at your Instagram at LC or something like that, a little shout out. I was finishing up the year at Cardinal Gibbons. I love this place here in Raleigh. And we had a graduation just last weekend at NC State because we had 400 seniors. And so 400 seniors plus parents, grandparents, siblings, educators, like teachers, faculty. We had to rent out the big Reynolds Coliseum, the big arena there on the campus.
Okay,
and
cool.
And actually one little fun thing, and then I'll turn it over to you to see what you've been doing. I kind of already spoiled it for everyone, sorry. But I got to play at the graduation rehearsal the day before graduation. They came up to me and said, hey, Father Luke, we would ask you to do like a prayer,
awesome.
Getting people ready for graduation. But what if instead you grab your guitar and you get up on stage and you sing a song? And so there I was in Valvano Arena. So Reynolds Coliseum, I guess, is like the exterior building. So I think Reynolds Coliseum is like just the brick and mortar. And then you walk inside the building, all of a sudden it has a different name, and it's called Valvano Arena. So I don't know what that means, but it's the famous coach of NC State. So same building, two different names. I'm there in the arena on the stage, and I came up with a medley with graduation theme pop songs.
That's awesome.
So it was really fun because I've never played in a big arena before, so it was really fun. And I got to offer that to my amazing, beloved, dearest graduates before they had their graduation the next day. And so that was really fun. It included Taylor Swift, of course, Coldplay, Miley Cyrus, The Climb. It was fun.
That's amazing. They all came to listen to you. Those
they were there just for me. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Just to hear me play. So yeah,
that's pretty high quality Cardinal Gibbons students there.
Oh
or
yeah,
was it,
no,
no, it was NC State. You said NC State.
Cardinal Gibbons students at NC State.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
it's kind of
Okay.
confusing, but yeah. So that's kind of what I've been up to, like awesome retreats and finishing up with exams and end of the year events, and that's yeah, and then just getting ready, gearing up for an amazing soul-packed fresh summer. What about you?
So, well, as you have already spoiled, right?
Sorry.
My big event that prevented me from having regular recording sessions with my superior and amazing and holy co-host was the big ordination event that we had here in Rome last April 29th. 29 priests,
Yeah.
29 new priests for the church.
From
God is amazing. So people we always read about like these dire stories, vocations going down, churches struggling, scandals, whatever. Like this is good news, folks. Like 29 new priests and going out to serve the world. So
how much did they make in the offertory that day?
Who knows? Oh my gosh. I think all the parents probably getting their like kids and all the babies to like sit back down or whatever. Like I don't know if anybody
that's quite the offering.
Passed around the collection plate, but
that is a worthy offering. All right,
so I was really
yeah,
busy because I mean, as you know, people know I did the music. I organized the music for the ordination mass. It was very beautiful. It was probably the most beautiful choir event I've participated in. It was a moment of grace, the Holy Spirit, and it just all came out very well. And you know, God is so good. So that was a big event had going on. And I can share some other things throughout the episode. But so let's get back to Aristotle surfing in the Greek islands or something like that is what we said, right?
Exactly. So when his mind was constantly just like full of ideas, and it might have gotten overheated, and so he needed to take some surfing vacations and on the Baltic. So he
on the Baltic, that's right, and near Scandinavia.
And so he needed to put on SPF, of course, but it wasn't your typical like off the shelves at Walmart SPF. This was special.
That's right.
Aristotle, if you asked him what does the soul consist of, he would say the soul isn't just some like ghost looking thing that materializes and then dematerializes, and it actually has three parts to it. And those three parts are what we recommend that you take into account as you plan out your this summer. Those three parts are, Brother Andrew, what?
So yeah, a soul is what forms the body, right? It informs the body, right? So you have two things that come together in a human being: a soul, a body, and a soul, right? And like Father Luke was saying, there's three parts to a soul. First part is memory. The second part is our intelligence, our ability to rationalize, and the third part is imagination, right? So memory, intelligence, and imagination.
And so these are things that like we think summer is relax on the beach and do nothing, or like see cool things, eat good food, whatever it is. But like a lot of times we think our body. And then like, what do you do for your soul? Well, I don't know. Maybe I go to church on Sunday, but when we realize that actually our soul is hungry in these three different ways. And so to make your summer truly fulfilling and enriching, you can actually, there are ways to not just feed your body or give your body what it wants, but your soul's yearning, you can also fulfill and satisfy that.
Exactly.
In these three different ways.
And before we go into this first way, just one final little thing. When people hear the word soul, like we often immediately associate it with a religious context, right? Because we have a soul, and we take care of our soul. And it's true, right? Because our soul is meant for God, and God gives us fullness of life. And of course, we want to talk about that but there's also like God has created us with other elements in our soul that isn't just like immediately like, okay, I need to make my whole life about God, right? He's created us also with different facets in our soul, like memory, like that that's a whole new world that we can educate and we can learn about, or imagining the future, dreaming. Like these are beautiful things, rich that add, if we're educated in this, it adds a richness of life, a newness of life. So when you hear the word soul, don't immediately think of like getting on my knees and praying and, you know, doing all this whatever stuff. Yes, some of that, but like we need to like widen our perspective. So
think like the deepest part of who you are. That's what the soul is.
Exactly.
And so if you're neglecting that, like the most fun and thrilling summer itinerary possible, like won't even begin to touch that. And that's the deepest part of who you are. And therefore we're just going to continue on the surface. But Aristotle, when he surfed, like he went deep. He went deep into that ocean.
Into those waters.
And so that we're going to take y'all deep this episode. And we're going to be wiping that SPF all over our souls.
Soul-Packed-Freshness. So
Yes.
memory.
Okay.
How do we first element of the soul is memory. Why is memory important? Like, do I need to like remember things I did when I was like 6 years old, or do I need to memorize something? I mean, I just spent the whole year, if I'm in school, memorizing stuff and then forgetting it. Like, what's memory? Like, why do I need to? How can I live? How can I use my memory better? Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, how can you use your memory better, and how can remembering and using your memory, how can it better your life and your soul and have a soul-packed freshness? We have a tendency to just like want to jump from one thing to the next. And if we don't stop and reflect, those things come and go and they kind of leave us with nothing. Like, but if you've ever had like, have you ever seen a good movie? Maybe this is like a way to illustrate it. Have you ever seen a good movie and then like immediately like something else comes on, you just watch that, or you're really tired and you just go to bed and you wake up the next day and you're busy the next day. Like that really good movie that touched you, like there was some scene there like, wow, like that was inspiring.
Yeah.
And then you just go on to the next thing. It kind of leaves you with nothing. Whereas if you watch that movie with someone and then you all of a sudden they're starting a conversation and you're like, wow, like I noticed this, that really inspired me. Like, oh, I thought that was really good too because it made me think of this. All of a sudden you'll probably never forget that movie and it's going to stay with you longer. And so I want, like, we can all ask ourselves, what was it this year? So since last summer 2022, what was it that, what are those things that stick out to me that inspired me, or that, like, I was thinking you could ask yourself this question to feed this part of your soul, this one aspect of your soul. Who was I last summer? Who am I now? How am I different? And what event or what situation or conversation, whatever, caused that? Am I more mature? Am I more reflective? Am I less so? Am I I don't know, more willing to help, like serve others? Am I less so? Am I interested in different things than I was last summer? Like all of a sudden, like last summer I was really into this fad, and all of a sudden it doesn't even matter anymore because I'm onto this other thing. And then why? Like what was it that caused that? That'll be pivotal and instrumental and extremely helpful if you can just start that like reflective process. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to do that. Yeah. It's easier to just go from one movie to the next show to the next series. That was great, whatever. And then like all of a sudden a week later, no one is talking about it anymore because there's already 10 more series to replace that one that everyone liked. And I think that's just a reflection of dangerous parts of our culture, that like consumerist part, that just like we need people to just continue consuming or continue like watching all these different things because that makes money. Whereas to reflect and to be slow and patient and let things seep in and go deep, which makes us better people, makes us more fulfilled, is not as intriguing maybe, or not as, but that's what Aristotle would have said as he ran out to the shores of the beach, said "Cowabunga" with his big beard, and yeah,
in Greek.
In Greek, yeah, whatever cowabunga is in Greek, we'll find that and let you all know.
Cowabungus. Something like that.
Probably.
Yeah, exactly. Memory. It's all about savoring, right? Savoring what's happened to us.
Oh, I like that word. Yeah.
And like going deeper instead of just consuming all this stuff without reflecting on it. Yeah, memory. Folks, that's SPF number 1. Work on your memory. Savor what's happened to you. So before we go on to SPF number 2, I have some cool news to share. Another reason why I haven't been able to do a bunch of recording was because we were going through here in Rome a bunch of meetings and discernment, a word that's familiar to all you guys, about experts. where I'm going to be sent, like as a priest. you know, because end of my theology, right? Just like happened to Father Luke 2 years ago, right? Already 2 years ago when he finished
2 years
theology,
ago, yep.
he received an assignment. He went through this process of like, okay, you know, we have this position open. Can you go here? And then somebody's like, no, let's move him over here. And then it's like this whole match of like, where are we going to send him? So that happened to me. And drum roll, please. I'm going to Germany.
Deutschland.
Deutschland, that's right.
Ah.
So first things off, I don't speak German. So that's going to be the first thing.
So the obvious question you're all asking is, okay, well then what are you going to do in Germany if you don't speak German?
What am I going to do in Germany? I'm just going to go on vacation, visit all these European cities.
Put on a lot of SPF.
Going on SPF. No, I'm going to the city of Düsseldorf. So it's north of Cologne, which is in Western Germany. So it's actually kind of in a cool part of Europe. It's like 3 hours from like Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, like all these kind of small countries. So it's in Western Germany. I'm going to work at this retreat. Basically, it's like a retreat house, spirituality house. It's called the Apostle House, actually, is the name of this place.
And in German, that's what you say, right?
Right. Apostelhaus is the word. Yeah. So it literally means apostle house. Sounds
so that's already two German words, you know. You're good.
There you go.
You're doing
Working
great.
my way up. Working my way up. So I'm really excited because of the team of people I'll be with. I'm going to be with 4 of the priests, and I'll be with like 4 or 5 consecrated women who live there. The director of this place where I'm going to work is one of the consecrated women. So I'm excited. It's going to be a beautiful beginning to my priesthood, God willing. A lot of studying time, at least in this first year, to learn the language, but also just learning from the people that are there, learning from the young people, all the getting to know families. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, that was all decided for me like these past couple of weeks, and yeah.
Okay, so Brother Andrew, why do you think the Legion and God through the Legion of Christ sent you of all people to Germany of all places? Like, what do you feel like? Have you thought about like what does God have up his sleeve? Like, what does he have planned for the German peoples? Like Saint Boniface went there back in the day, and now you're going there. Like,
and I'm gonna chop down another tree like he did and be martyred.
No, but like seriously, have you like asked yourself like why? Like, I don't know, if you're sending you to Brazil, maybe you'd think like, oh, there's a certain thing about what I've studied, the gifts that I have, but like he's sending you to Germany. Have you thought about
well, so one of the big things right. Yeah. So a little less, maybe a little bit more, first kind of a superficial answer, is there weren't a lot of people in my year being sent out that could learn German or that express that.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people were just, it wasn't something that they could do or that they felt like they could do. There weren't a lot of people for Europe, candidates for Europe. And I said, like, you could send me to Europe if you want. Like, that was one of the things I wrote on my sort of like feedback to the superiors. Like, if you want to send me there, you know, like I could work there. So they probably, I think they just kind of like grabbed onto that and said, okay, you know. And I also was in touch with some priests in Germany because I sort of thought about this. So some people who know a little bit more about what's been going on in the church know that there's been sort of a struggle going on with the church in Germany. And so I've been attentive to that. And I felt last year, like, you know, actually, maybe it would be a good thing to like this is a big deal that's going on. And maybe I could go there, you know, maybe I could try to, you know, in a humble way, you know, try to help renew the church there. So deeper meanings behind this, I don't know. I'm just going to serve the church there as best I can. It'll be up to God to use that for wherever he wants to. There's a lot I have to learn, especially taking my first baby steps into the ordained ministry. So I'm just excited about inserting myself into the local church and serving the community there and eating a bunch of schnitzel and strudel.
And pretzel.
And pretzels.
All right. So, well, that's pretty cool. And it will unfold. I think all we really need for God to work through us is not like our gifts and talents and like all these things that we do amazingly well, but it is just like your willingness to go. And like you were willing, that's what we say when we take the vow of obedience, that like, yeah, church, send me anywhere you want. I'm ready to spread the gospel
Let's
even in German. So that's pretty cool.
Let's do it.
All right, let's move on to SPF number 2. So we're gonna give 3 tips for making your soul as white as those really pale people that put on a bunch of way too much sunscreen in the summer. So
like myself
as well. So I go white, red, and then back to white. And in between that, there's like some peeling that happens. It's, so
I'm kind of a nice pale white, like all the time.
He's actually not wearing a shirt right now. That's just, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
So please watch the YouTube if you're not getting our references here, because then you can see what we're talking about. Okay.
I'm wearing a white shirt, folks.
He's wearing a white shirt. Okay. So we talked about memory, and Aristotle would say that's part of the soul. It's not all that the soul is, but that's part of it. And just like everything Catholic, St. Augustine said, okay, well, this is like the Trinity, memory and intelligence and imagination. So now we're going to talk about intelligence. So fulfilling the memory is one part of it, but then our intelligence, like we hunger for truth, right? Like we hunger for knowledge. That's how we're wired. That's how we're made. That's how our soul is woven together. So for intelligence, like what can you do now to answer that call to know, to grow in knowledge, to grow in wisdom, to be a true philosopher, lover of wisdom?
Yes.
And maybe we can just list off some books. I have a few that, like, think about, I don't know, I was thinking before this, okay, think about some topic or issue that is going on in the world. Like you can turn on social media and just get a bunch of like thousands of different opinions of people, like maybe from a Harvard professor to someone that really knows very little and just is speaking from their passion or emotion or whatever. And nothing against that, but if you want to become someone that it can truly like make an impact in the world, contribute something to our society, then why don't you become the expert this summer by reading a good book, a book well put together on some topic of, I don't know, church debates today. You're talking about like the issues in Germany. Like, why don't you talk about, okay, what does it mean that the church is Catholic and united around the successor of St. Peter? That just came to me as you were talking. Or topics of social issues right now, that different ideologies that are out there, or political issues that people are just constantly battling about because no one really seems to have the answers. And it's a lot of just opinions. Well, why don't you search for those answers? Like how cool if at the end of the summer, when in August or whatever, when classes roll around, you've actually become like a lot more learned in a very important subject. Like you'd be contributing a lot to the people around you. But Angie, you have anything to add?
Yeah, totally. And I would say some people are like, well, I just finished school. I just graduated. Like, I don't want to go back to books. Yeah. Don't read like maybe about like a subject or something like
a textbook.
Maybe study, like read something that's like happening today, something that's interest. Like, I don't know, like read like Elon Musk. Like he's become this huge player in the world today because of all the, he's such a really unique person. Like, why does he want to go to Mars? Is that a good idea? What do you think about that? Like, or Twitter, what is he doing with Twitter? Twitter's like a huge venue of communication today. Like it's important to know something about it. What's his mission? Why did he fire 75% of the staff? Like what's the principle of his work? Why is he so successful? It's worth learning something about him, for example, like a biography or something. There's so many things you could there's going to be an election next year, presidential election. Maybe it's going to be the first time that you vote. Why don't you read about something that has to do with the elections? Like to learn German, I got this book. It's a workbook in German, and it's by the Dummies.
Nice.
And the Dummies brand.
German for Dummies.
Exactly. So like they have a ton of good books, the Dummies. You could get like American Government for Dummies or something. Like it's stuff that's explained really well, written by a good expert. So there's tons of things that you could learn about. Maybe on the spiritual side, like to sort of put some order in your mind spiritually. A really good author that both you and I like a lot, Father, is Jacques Philippe. Okay?
So good.
He is really good. His last name is spelled Philippe, Philippe. First name is Jacques. And he has a ton of good books. They're very short, they're very clear, and they're very beautiful. So it's like awesome qualities in a book that you want to have. And these are books that you can read once, twice, 3 times. Remember what we said with memory. You want depth. We don't want to maybe like go into so many different things, but just we want depth.
Think about like a book. I would say like, okay, well, I don't have time to read. Okay, if you're getting on a plane and your plan is I'm gonna watch a movie or two movies on the way there and movie or two on the way back, pack that Jacques Philippe book in between your computer and your bathing suit. It's that thin. It's tiny. Like, it's so small. It'll fit in any carry-on, in any zipper, and anything. And like, rather than watching that movie on the plane, why don't you like read a book on how to pray, Time for God by Jacques Philippe, How to Hear the Holy Spirit in Your Life, Called to Life by Jacques Philippe. Who is this Saint Therese person who like is one of the newest doctors of the church, which means like, you know, legit teacher of the faith for the church. And she was just from the last century. And she's this 20-something-year-old nun that died. And why is the church still talking about her in some lost town in France? Called to Love, Jacques Philippe. Like, there's so many great books that if you pick up, your soul will be packed and your life will be fresh.
Indeed.
Because of that.
SPF number 2.
So go with government. Go with something that you're passionate about. Go with like, it could be something relevant for the world or just relevant for you. Like, think of something personal that you're doubting. I was thinking, why do I go to mass? Like, what is the point? My parents drag me to every Sunday to go to mass. There's an Eucharistic revival happening in the US, and Bishop Barron was, he kind of tells a story in like the forward of the book that.
So what's the book called? What's the book called?
This Is My Body. And in the forward, he says, okay, well, this book came about because all the bishops had these meetings. We decided we need a revival of the Eucharist. We need Catholics. Like, only 30% of Catholics apparently believe in the real presence of Jesus in Eucharist. Like, what the Catholic Church has always taught, only 30% of people actually believe that's true. Like, what happening in Mass is incredible, but 70% of people think, no big deal. And so they decided, okay, well, all the bishops, we're gonna have meetings, we're gonna come up with a strategy and all that stuff. And then he had like a second meeting with a couple, like just a smaller group of bishops. In the end, everyone like, well, who's gonna write this book? And all the bishops, like in unison, they all turn to Bishop Barron. They're looking at Bishop Barron. He's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And so he wrote this book, This Is My Body. Again, it's about as thin as those Jacques Philippe books. You could fit it anywhere in your backpack, carry-on item, whatever. And it is so good. Like, you'll never look at the Mass the same as your parents drag you next Sunday to Mass, hopefully, in the summer. This Is My Body. I'm about halfway through it. Jacob's Ladder, Peter Kraft, he's also someone that like takes really big ideas. Like, he would talk about SPF and Aristotle and all that stuff, but on a level that dummies like me and the rest of us can understand. And so like, one book that I would recommend specifically of his, I just read it, was recommended to me, Jacob's Ladder. And it's just basically like an agnostic young lady talking to an older lady saying like, you know what, I don't believe there's meaning in life. And if there is meaning, I have my meaning, you have your meaning. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're there, that's where you're at, pick up this book and just see if the author successfully kind of walks you through it, like the ideas that you go from one rung to the ladder to the next, walks you from being a person just says, I refuse to take any stand on anything because I just believe that everyone has their truth. Okay, well then read that book, and I challenge yourself, challenge your own intelligence to like take a stand and not just be wishy-washy about meaning in life, and be passionate about something. Soul-Packed-Freshness brings passion in life.
Amen. Sounds like a commercial, like a really successful, exciting commercial that makes you want to buy a product.
Well, buy what we're selling, people, because this could be life-changing.
And it's amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing. And your soul needs it. It yearns for it. So yeah. But Andrew, what are your summer plans before we get into the final SPF? Like, any fun facts, fun plans?
So I have exams going on right now, actually. In Rome.
That's fun. That's really fun.
My graduation, luckily it's only like 2. I have 2 more exams. No, 3. I have 3 more exams.
Oh, so you got this.
It's not that bad. Yeah. Then I have graduation, and then I'm going to Germany at the end of June, just for a week, just to kind of like see the priests, see the community, because I'm heading to the States for the summer, actually, because several months ago I was asked to help out at our seminary in the US, in Connecticut, in Cheshire, to help out there for our summer discernment program, the candidacy. So I'll be there for 2 months. I'll be with probably, I think we have like 7 or 8 guys signed up, and we have some other visitors. So like I'll probably be like 15 people together in the summer. So looking forward to that. And then of course the big event for me at the end of the summer, well actually end of September, is going to be my diaconate ordination in Louisiana. September 30th. September 30th in my home parish, Slidell, Louisiana.
That's gonna be a big summer.
I'm excited. Yeah. Got a lot of things coming up. All
right, but Andrew, I'm gonna have you.
Yeah, well, what are your summer plans?
Oh well, the most exciting thing for me is World Youth Day. I get to bring some students to Portugal.
World Youth Day. That is amazing.
So it's end of July. Send prayer intentions and I'll take them there. The Pope Francis is going to be there, along with. I mean, there's been World Youth Days with 2 million, more than 2 million young people gathering in one place. So this one's going to be big, and it's full of like talks and activities, and there's like concerts happening and like festivals and type of things.
Did you say
it's just celebrating our faith?
It's going to be in Lisbon. I don't know if you
Lisbon, Portugal. Lisbon, Portugal. We have a day trip. Our group, I'm sure everyone's doing it, to Fatima to visit where Our Lady appeared to those 3 shepherds.
So cool.
About 150 years ago, and that'll be great. That'll be very enriching, very soul-packed freshness.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, we got one more SPF to help our listeners have this soul-packed freshness at the end of their summer.
That's right. So we did memory, we did intelligence, and the last one is, do you remember?
Imagination.
Imagination, exactly.
So, Andrew, what does that mean? How do we do that?
So, well, imagine this. Imagine that you are imagining your future. What do you dream about? What moves you? What's your passion? Do you have any dreams? Do you have any passion? Or are you just going through life like just a burnt plate of paella, you know? So let's get the flavors flowing. Let's get the juices going. Let's get the eggs sizzling. Let's get the bacon fattening up. We want to imagine. We want to bring color, smells, bells. We want to spoof things up a little bit. Okay, so that's what imagination can do for you. And so this summer, after already going through your past, being thankful for what you've lived, sharpening your mind, project yourself. Maybe you're gonna go into your senior year in high school, or maybe your senior year in college, or maybe you're about to have a baby, or
maybe you're a senior citizen.
Maybe you're a senior citizen. So like all these seniors, you know. So like, what are you preparing for? Like, what's this next step in your life? So like, imagine how you want to live that next step. Like, where would you like to be in a year from now? Because maybe next summer, hopefully you can do the same exercise, you know? Oh, like this a year ago, I had this goal, and now I achieved my goal. So like, imagine what are your goals? But not only like things that you want to do, like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. That's great. We all need to have those type of goals. But the most important type of goal, I think, that we really need to bring a lot of color with our imagination is the type of person I want to be.
Yes.
Who is the type of person I want to be? Tell me about that, Father Louis. Why is that a good thing to think about?
Because I'm thinking when our discernment series, All In, St. Ignatius like realized that when he thought about being a knight, like that was his big hope back in the 15th century. Like the glory was not being on an NFL team; it was being a knight and then riding back in and people chanting your name. When he thought about that, as opposed to when he began, thanks to God's grace and in a horrible accident, he started imagining, or I could be like someone like St. Francis of Assisi, who left everything to preach the gospel. And he imagined those two things. And one like gave him excitement and thrill, and then it kind of petered out and it was gone. Whereas the other one gave him this like joy and peace that was lasting. And we can sort of do justice to the imagination that God has given us, or just treat it very cheaply. And if we're filling it with just like cheap ideas of what I want to be rich in the future. Like your imagination is to me kind of like pathetic. No offense to anybody, but like, okay, well, you're not going to really imagine yourself doing great things, making an impact in the world, contributing. You're not going to be inspired by these like high ideals. You're just thinking money, 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 money. And so, like,
Apprentice. Shout out to the Apprentice theme song.
Yeah, you're fired. So I don't know, that's kind of inspiring to me. Just thinking right now, like you can form a shape, like your intelligence, like we were talking about. You can shape your imagination to give you images that are inspiring and not just like poof, and they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of that comes from, like what you said, Father, like reading. Like what if other great minds that have lived throughout human history, what have they said? Because whenever you open a book, you are entering the mind of somebody who lived in a certain moment of time. Maybe somebody who was really, really smart, who was an expert in something, and they're putting in their unique words something that's really valuable. And that's entering into your mind, and that can affect you, and that can give you new images, new perspectives, new ideas, something that maybe they worked for 30, 40, their whole life, all these years, and that they finally came to this idea. And that's so accessible to you, and then that opens up a whole new door for you to then sort of like the people in the Renaissance talked about their ancestors as like giants. So like they would climb on the backs of giants, and they would walk into the future on the backs of giants, right? And that's what we can do, and that's what that's why we need to read. We need to watch interesting shows, documentaries, things that are educated, that help our minds to open up, and then but then especially to dream. Like, because Pope Francis talks a lot about that. Do you remember some things that Pope Francis said, Father Luke, or like the idea? Because he talks a lot about dreaming about the future.
Well, no, I don't, but maybe I do. But I'm just thinking like dreaming in the sense that, but like the desires in your heart aren't random. Like God has placed them there. So like, by dreaming and thinking like, what impact could I have, or who's the person who's the person that I could be? Who's the saint I'm called to be?
Yeah.
Like that's actually one of the many ways that God is actually communicating himself to you, is like the great impact that you're called to have, the unique impact that you can have on the world that no one else can fulfill or carry out. But yeah, what else does Pope Francis say? I don't know if he did say that, but what else does he say?
Well, one of the things that he said, and we talked about this in one of our discernment episodes. He talks about the dynamic of desire, and how he says that the word desire comes from the Latin word for star, and it literally means something like lacking the star.
Yeah.
In the sense that you see the star, you can see it, but you're not there yet. Like you're walking towards it, and so the desire is like you're being pulled towards the star, towards this ideal, this desire. So that's what desire is. And so if you don't have deep desires or deep dreams, start thinking, get ideas from other people, because there needs to be something that's moving you through life, right? Something that'll help you through the inevitable deep suffering that you're going to experience one day or another, right? We need something that keeps us moving, some this great ideal, some great idea, in the end of the day, I think, a person that we want to encounter, right? And so these let's use our imagination, I think, at the end of the day, to imagine, especially this deep desire for love that we all have at the end of the day. Like, how do I imagine that being fulfilled somehow in a greater way in this next year? What can I do to allow my heart to approach at least maybe a few more steps in this upcoming year, this deep desire for love that I have? And I know, Father Luke, you encounter that all the time in your now first year as a priest. So many young people who are looking for love, right? So yeah, that's what I would suggest. Like, use your imagination to turn on your desire, right? For depth.
Yes. All right, people. So there you have it. 3 ways that you can finish your summer with like that fulfillment, a soul packed, like that image of just like overflowing in God's abundance. God doesn't give graces sparingly and in a miserly manner. He's so generous. And so like, this is a gift that will continue giving. This is a way you can spend your summer that won't just like, once school starts back up, it's like, oh, what a drag. No, it's gonna be, now you're going to have like so much to bring into this new year, the new challenges and adventure that entails. It's just going to keep pouring out and overflowing into everything you do, all the interactions you have. So number 1, ask yourself, what happened? Like, who was I summer 2022? Who am I now? And what has brought me? And like, what's the message there? Like, what events have shaped me to who I am today? And what's the message? What are the words? What's the idea that God is trying to get across, or ideas that God is trying to get across to me? Number 2 is what, Brother Andrew?
So memory. And then number 2 is intelligence. Number two is feeding your mind for what it longs for, right? Which is a greater understanding of the world, greater understanding of myself, greater understanding of what's happening, and at the end, a greater desire for wisdom, right? So to do that, we need to read. We need to listen to people who are smart. We need to open up a book. We need to be patient enough to read, right? Instead of flipping through our phone. So find good books. You could go anywhere, like top 100 books or whatever. If you need some suggestions, you can find tons of suggestions online. You mentioned a few authors here, but yeah. Number two is intelligence, and then number three was our imagination.
Dream,
right?
people. Dream.
Dreaming.
Think like who's the person you want to be? How are you going to get there? Let your imagination be inspired by the examples that have gone before us, like Brother Andrew was saying, and then you be that person. Like start today being that person you want to be tomorrow.
Today, right. Don't wait.
People, you know that to be all in and to live life to the full, you have to sometimes pause
and play.
And I don't know if we did have another way of signing off before, but
that's
all we got for now, folks.
I think that was it.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
peace.
I like it.
If you want to get in the game, but life is too fast-paced, try this today. Pause and play. Let's go.